The NBA season has officially started and the opening games were nothing short of amazing. The Bucks faced Philly, while Boston played against the New York Knicks. Both matchups were delightful to watch and gave us plenty of indicators why this season will be absolutely wild in every sense of the word. Welcome back to Hoop Vision, and let's dive straight into basketball. From the moment the trade between Milwaukee and Portland was finalized, everyone knew Dame would not be just a sidekick to Giannis, but a co-leader who would be trusted to make the right plays and decide the clutch time. So, the opening game against the 76ers showed us exactly why the Lillard trade was a good move. 39 points, league's record for the most points in the first game with an organization, and a takeover in the fourth with 11 straight points to seal the deal. The biggest potential issue and one of the most discussed things in the world of basketball was if the chemistry between the Bucks duo would be there. However, as soon as we saw some footage from the media day, it was more than obvious they wouldn't have such a problem, and the first game of the season confirmed it. Multiple conversations between Dame and Giannis have resulted in him knowing what's expected of him and allowed him to take control of the game when it was necessary the most. When you take into consideration that Giannis is one of those players without a big ego, it's easy to see why things clicked so well right away. His willingness to let Dame be Dame when needed will be a huge factor throughout the season, as we've seen so many duos and big threes formed over the league's history who couldn't deliver the chip due to clashing horns with each other. In this game, Giannis stepping aside and giving the ball to Lillard was the right thing to do. With 4 minutes left, the Bucks were down 104 to 102, and the game could have gone either way. But that's where the Dame time button was pressed. 14 points in just a couple of minutes, while the whole Sixers roster combined for 15. Additionally, what kind of Damian Lillard debut would it be without his signature shot from beyond the USA borders? Kelly Oubre Jr. was having those Paul George flashbacks as Dame took a 30-foot step-back three-pointer with 1 minute 13 seconds left on the clock, giving his team a lead that 76ers couldn't catch up with. Anyone else would be bashed for taking such a shot, but the NBA has gotten used to it. Lillard was very happy in a post-game interview stating he
just kind of getting in the rhythm. They came out blitzing me from the beginning, so it woke.
Praising Dame so much doesn't mean we forgot how big of a game Giannis had as well, putting up 23 points and 13 rebounds. His performance was also very well paced, but there were a couple of situations where he didn't make the right read and pulled up for a jumper while the lane was wide open for him. Apart from that, combining him and Lillard has disrupted the balance of power in the East, and this is the biggest reason why. In this game, Dame was usually starting possessions with 2 high screens beyond the three-point line, which made the paint as open as a McDonald's drive-thru with the other 2 players waiting in the corner. This created a dilemma for the defense, since they had to choose between Dame having an open three-pointer in case of defending under the screen, or him just driving to the basket in case of switching. What's scary about this way of playing is that not just Giannis and Lillard can utilize it, but that it created so many wide-open shots that will definitely pose a problem for other teams throughout the season. Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis Jr. may not be shooting guards, but they can punish the defense if left wide open for 3, and there's no need to say what kind of an impact Chris Middleton will make if he gets fed with such open shots. The counter argument regarding the Lillard trade was losing defensive depth in Drew Holiday, but seeing the offensive advantages Dame brings to the table, it's needless to point out the trade was a good decision after all. There's just a huge difference offensively between Dame using those screens and Drew being the one to run them. Time will tell how big of an impact Lillard will have on this Milwaukee team throughout the season, and the most epic conclusion to this debate would be a Celtics versus Bucks matchup in the playoffs. Speaking of the Celtics, they also had a great opening night against the Knicks, and there was another record broken by none other than Kristaps Porzingis. Scoring 30 points in his Celtics debut was just enough to surpass Dominique Wilkins, who set it back in 1994. The Unicorn was doing it all. He was able to score from both the paint and the three-point line, grab rebounds, block shots, making a great first impression wearing green. He looked comfortable, and it was a pleasure to see him have fun on the court after being overwhelmed by injuries for such a long time. This was not the Kristaps we've seen in Dallas or with the Wizards. This was indeed the Unicorn, and he seemed like he reinvented his game. What also gives him the freedom to play without pressure is that he has so many talented players around him, so facilitating the offense isn't solely on his shoulders anymore. Plus, the rest of the team is benefiting from his sheer presence on the court. For example, Tatum had many drives in the open lane because Kristaps was not allowing the help to come by, waiting outside for three-pointers, which he shot at an amazing 55.6%. When you have a big man who knocks down 5 out of 9 three-point attempts, you leave the opponent with not so many options to respond with. When Brunson was having mismatches against Al Horford, Kristaps was using his length to help with the drive and prevent the lob pass, forcing a couple of bad passes to well-covered shooters. The importance of having a three-point shooting big man was obvious when Kristaps was defending high-screen plays run by the Knicks, as he was able to step back a bit and be a defensive anchor. The Knicks center couldn't threaten the Celtics from beyond the arc, which allowed Porzingis to serve serve as a bridge between the forwards and made the defense work like a Swiss clock. There were many situations throughout the game where lobs were the most obvious solutions for the Knicks, but his length simply didn't allow such plays, and would usually end with a blocked shot or a missed layup. That's how big of a difference Kristaps can make under the basket. The astonishing piece of data is that an average league percentage for shots taken close to the rim was 64.2% last season, while New York had just 33.3%. Coincidence? You probably don't think so as well. What makes Kristaps scary is the fact that he was able to play such an elite defense without sacrificing his offensive output. Getting 30 points on a 53% field goal efficiency is fantastic for a big man, especially considering he's surrounded by other scorers who like having the ball in their hands. There's a chance he was extra motivated due to being back at Madison Square Garden, where he started his career as a talented kid from Latvia and was welcomed with plenty of doubt and criticism. Looking at his stat sheet against the Knicks, you can say he got his revenge for being given up on. An amazing feature of Kristaps' game is his ability to read the opponent's defensive holes and cut through the lane or behind his defender, which resulted in several easy buckets. The reason why he was able to act like a guard and make these plays was his health, which is the crucial factor surrounding almost all Kristaps talks. Unfortunately, his previous team were not patient enough with him and never focused on giving him the supporting environment he needed to show his full potential. Knowing Brad Stevens, he will not make the same mistake as them. So if Kristaps can maintain his career three-point averages, which stand at around 38%, the league will be in trouble this season and possibly many more to come. Regardless if the attention is on the other scorers or he creates the shot by sliding from the screen way faster than the average center, Kristaps knows how to get his open looks, which will be crucial in the playoffs where every point matters, especially if it comes effortlessly from a three-point shooting big man. And when you think he's Boston's third or fourth scoring option, you realize how stacked they are and what kind of a treat we're in for this season. All of the above went almost without mentioning Jrue Holiday, who had a modest game with 9 points, 2 assists, and 4 rebounds, but had an amazing 3 blocks on the night. He also contributes in ways that can't be shown on the stat sheet, so the developing chemistry with Porzingis and the rest of the Celtics will mean a crazy competitive atmosphere in the East. He'll probably also want to prove himself against the Bucks because of the Dame trade, so there's another storyline with a huge potential in case they meet each other in the playoffs. It's just unreal how good this season is turning out to be with just a couple of days in. The West has already been stacked, and with the Lillard trade, we've got a party of its own type in the East. As you can see, the engines are turned on to the fullest, and all you have to do is sit back and enjoy the best NBA action. That's it for today, dear friends. If you have some interesting thoughts on these games, make sure to share them in the comments below. Since the NBA season has officially started, there will be plenty of new takes, news, and NBA stories, so make sure not to miss them by hitting the subscribe button. Until next time.